Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I'm going to go over the specifics of the open parties and claims mod because I have noticed that a multitude of people don't really know how to work with this mod perfectly or don't even know certain basics as to how claim land or how to share it with party members. Note that I'll be looking at the mod from both a user perspective and an administrative perspective, so both those people can look at this video and have better info. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Most of the mod is operated through commands, most notably the openpack claims, and openpack parties commands, and all of them do different things in certain areas. But for claiming, basic claiming, you obviously have to do the openpack claims. Now, when I click this and press space, you have all this stuff. Some of them are admin only, so please ignore most of them. You will not see most of them if you are a regular player. But to claim, you simply have to do openpack claims claim, and you can even set coordinates. You can even set coordinates, but most of the times you just press this in the chunk that you're standing in. As you can see on my mini map on the top right, there is now a square that is my claim. When you're using OpenPack, I strongly recommend also installing Zero's minimap and world map because it makes the process a lot easier. If you also have Zero's world map installed, you can open the map and do the following. You can right click a chunk. You will also see this blue rectangle area. This is the area in which you can claim from the map. But when you right click, you can go all the way down to this button, which is claim selected, and as you can see, you have successfully claimed a chunk. If you do this again, you can also click unclaim, and if you want to do this via commands, just walk into your claim, to open parties, openpack claims, and then run the unclaim command. There are a few things you could do with your claims right off the bat. So if I go back to claiming this part again, you can force load them. Now, sadly, I am unable to show this off. But basically what force loading does is that your claim, this chunk specifically, will always stay loaded and will be ticked regardless if it's loaded by a player or not. The reason I cannot show this right now is because we at CordCraft have decided to give everybody 0 force load chunks because it would be a risk to performance and it would very much lower the already abysmally low TPS of the server. But if you do have this enabled, you can run open parties and claims force load, but as you can see, if I run this right now, I will have reached my chunk force load limit. But if you want to unforce load it, of course, you can do the same thing. But as you can see, it will say that the target chunk is not marked for first loading, but it should work out of the bat. You can also do this via the map as well, force load, or click on unforce load selected if it's available. That is as far as claiming and force loading goes. For the rest of the mod, you cannot use the world map anymore for any other features, but the more notable features that I want to go look into now is the party and ally feature. Similar to how claims are done, you can use the openpack parties command to use parties. When you haven't created a party yet, you can only see the following commands. So let's create a party. You can just run this command and it will create a party for you, and it will just name it your username's party. Now if I go to the openpack parties command again, you can see a lot more things. First off is the destroy command. If you want to get rid of your party, you can do destroy. You also have to do this confirm one, and it delete your party. I will not run this right now as I will need to show off some more things. You can run the leave command to leave the current party. You can only be in one party at once. I obviously cannot leave my own party. As you can see, it will give that error. Now, as you can see, it will also already say what I was about to say. If you do want to leave your own party, but you don't want to destroy it, you can transfer the ownership by doing open back parties, transfer, and then some person in your party. Now, obviously, I am the only person in my party, so I will not be able to transfer anything, but again, that should just work right off the bat. Now, member, you can invite members, you can kick members, and you can rank members. Inviting members is as simple as just putting in their username. I am unsure if you can also put in offline usernames or UIDs, but as always, I just suggest to invite people when they're online, or at least notify them of your invitation, because the mod doesn't really remind invited people as much that they are invited. But if I were to if I want to, for instance, invite Foxy Dungeon, I don't know this person, but just for reference, I can click this. There is no other options, and I can hit enter. Now, obviously, I will not do this right now, but again, that should just work right off the bat. Similarly, if you want to get rid of someone, you can do the kick command and get rid of them. If I were to have invited Foxy and they joined, but I was like, oh wait, I don't really want to be with you anymore, I can kick them through this. Then there's also rank, and you have 3 ranks. You have the admin rank, which means they have full power over your over your party, apart from things like transfer or destroying the party. There's also the member, which is the base role, it's just the base rank that everybody has. And there's also the moderator ones, which allows them to, I believe, kick and invite people, but not do serious things like changing the name or whatever. Now, that is all the member commands. Now, there is also a chat command, which means you can just chat to everybody in your party. As you can see, it will show this thing with the party's name, then what my rank is, then my username, and then the message. This can only be seen by people inside of your party. Then there is one last thing, which is the about one. This is not linked to your party, this is always available, but if I were to see what this Gaston person is up to, I can run this. You can see some basic information about their party. As you can see, they have a party called Gaston's Party, and it has 7 out of 64 members, which is all these people. Oh hey, that's Lacey. that's so anyway, now there's one last thing in this party command that I want to show off, which is the ally feature. Let's say I am friends with Gaston, and Gaston has their own party, as you can see. But I want Gaston to also be able to interact with my things, or at least have the same perms as my party does. What I can do is I can ally them, because again, as I mentioned before, you can only be in one party at once. You can add or remove allies, you can add them, and you can just click someone and it will automatically do ally the party that they're in, not necessarily their own party or something. If I were to, for instance, ally Fluffy Frisky, it'll just automatically ally Gaston's party, so you don't have to worry much about that. But if I were to do Gaston's party is now an ally of mine. If I were to hit this enter right now, it would ally them, and if I don't want to be allies with them anymore, I could remove them. But as you can see, the list won't show up here, but I believe this should have suggestions. Now, please note that there is a difference between parties and allies. They also have perms separated. You can separate your perms from what your party can do and what allies can do. Also, please note that again, you can only be in one party at once, but you can have multiple allies. Also note that everybody in the allied party has the perms, not just the specific person you allied. Now, this is all niche and all, but once you do have your party set up, or you have claimed a bit of area, such as this area right over here, as you can see, you can also hold right click and drag over the area to select multiple chunks and claim selected. But now, if you do once you do have a little area of your own, what you can do now is set certain permissions for it. The base permission config screen is the apostrophe, which has all this stuff. You can click the about button to show things about your party. You can click the unclaim button and the force load button, or unforce load if that's there. Again, these will just run the commands for you. But I generally don't like having to open the menu and all of that. You can see better information about how many members are in your party, how many allies you have, how many invites are open, how many claims you've already used, how many force loads you've already used, or how many you have, the name of this claim, and we'll get into that a little bit later, as well as the color. We will also get into that a little bit later. Now, when you click on the player config menu, there will be a lot of things. Most of these will be grayed out for you if you are not an operator and just a regular player, because these are all config related. But again, we will get into that in the administrative place. This one will also be gone for you. This option will not be there if you are not an administrator, because this is for admins who want to change configs of other players in such a way that helps them, or if they don't really know how to do it, but you do, you can do it for them. The main focus for the user guide right now will be the My Player config, so you can click on that as well. And there's a lot of stuff. As you can see, there's a lot of pages in here. Now, I will shortly go over each of them, and after that, I will also go over how to use subclaims. Here is the party name. You can have up to 100 characters. If I want to call my party the Cool Kids, I can do that and press that. If I go back real quick, you can see that my party name is now Cool Kids, and if I were to, for instance, do the open parties chat command, you will see that I have now renamed my party to Cool Kids. Now, these I will go over in a second, as this is more subclaim related. This one, share your position with party. This is mostly on the minimap and world map mods, so if you don't have these, you can neglect this feature and not use it. But essentially what this means is that your party can see where you are on the map, and they can follow you wherever they want. The same goes for this one, but it is only allies. These ones are from receiving positions, so if I, for instance, decide to share it with my party, but party members don't want to see my position, they can turn this off. And again, this is the same, but just for allies. Claim chunk protection, I suggest keeping this on at all times, but when you turn this off, all it just means is that your chunk is not protected anymore. And protection is basically stopping people from breaking blocks, interacting with things. Turning this off completely just means that all of that is turned off. This is an administrative feature. You can set extra chunk claims, so I will look at this in a little while. Protect from my party, which means that if you want to allow your party to interact with your claims, you can turn this off. And the same goes for allies. If you want them to be able to interact with your claims, they are off. You can turn it off. again, some of these will be grayed out even for me as an operator because they might be set as default in a config, or they might not work for your version at the moment. But most of these, what means is that we'll protect blocks from players. You'll see that every single one of these that starts with every has 3 options, being every, meaning that protected from all players that don't have chunk access, not party, which means only the players not in the party as you, and not ally, all the players that are not in any party allied by yours. This is from mobs, and this is from other things, so anything that is not a player or mob. Redirect block protection, I am actually still not very sure what this means, but you can read the little text here and see if it helps you. This one seems pretty straightforward, from explosions, and this one from fire spread. Enchantments, if you have something like Frostwalker, you can turn this on, which means that if someone with Frostwalker were to walk over your claim, they won't actually freeze any of your water. This is the same. Nobody can trample your crops, meaning if they jump on top of them or if they fall from a high thing, they won't trample. Fluid barrier means that if I were to flow fluids from outside my claim into my claim, it will stop where the claim border is. The same goes for pistons, so it's something the piston cannot push in. P dot stands for protect, so protect buttons from projectiles, protect targets from projectiles, protect plates from players, protect plates, and plates is pressure plates, from mobs. And all of these are basically the same thing. Protect entities from players, for instance, that you cannot hit players, but there's also other things. Redirect entry protection, again, I am not very sure what redirect means, but here I'll leave this open for a while so you can read it. Protect entities from explosions, protect entities from fire, protect from village raids, so raids will just not work in your claim to chunks. Protect players from players, meaning they cannot PvP in this certain area. Protect players from mobs, again, players cannot die to mobs, or protect players from other. But this is only entities. Please note that something like fall damage does not count as other. It's only entities. Redirect player protection. Again, I don't know what redirect means, so you can just read it for yourself. Player lightning, chorus, teleport, nether portals. I often have this turned off. Completely off, because if people were to spawn in my base due to some portal they found in the nether, they cannot get back into the nether to continue their journey. So if you are nice and you're on a server, I suggest turning this one off. Of course, if you have farms that work with nether portals, you might want to keep this on. But then again, we'll look into subclaims in a moment, and this will make your life way easier. Again, this is the same. I do often, for farms, you also want this to be off, and this one you most likely want it to be on. Protect item use means that someone who right-clicks an item, they cannot actually use them, such as ender pearls or something else. Now we as administrators can set exceptions for this, and that's also why this is kind of grayed out. We can protect item use in neighbors, meaning that if I were to stand near your claim, so let's say I'm not inside your claim, but I'm kind of like over here, I still cannot use the items. For instance, with ender pearls, this is the most common use. People will try to ender pearl into your claim, but then again, they cannot, because if you have this turned on, it will protect nearby claims from doing it. The dispenser barrier means that anything that dispensers are touching and facing the protected chunks will not work. Protect player item toss, meaning that if someone drops an item, they cannot. This is off by default, which is very much the intended behavior. Mob item toss and other item toss. Redirect item toss protection. Again, I don't know what redirect means, so you can read this for yourself. Protect from mob loot, meaning that if mobs die, they won't drop their loot. The same goes for players, but we have a grave mod on CordCraft, so you don't actually have to worry about this one. This means they cannot pick up items and stuff. This means that mobs cannot pick the items up. Again, I don't know what redirect means, so you can read this for yourself. Protect XP, they cannot pick up XP. This one is a very long one, and I really don't feel like explaining it, but just in a general sense, it means that mob griefing, which is also a game rule you can set. If you don't know, it is, for instance, what creepers have to follow if they want to, for instance, blow up your terrain. If you do want creepers to blow up your terrain or something, you can override it. Now, obviously, we have mob griefing set to true, meaning that if you override it, it will set it to false on your terrain. To protect from hostile spawn, this just means that hostile mobs cannot spawn. As for friendly, you can also disable the spawner block. You can disable projectiles from hostiles or projectile from friendly. You can also force load marked chunks. You can turn this off, meaning that if you have force loaded chunks, you have chunks marked to be force loaded, but you don't actually want them to be force loaded. You can just turn them all off at once. This one, the force load while offline, again we turned this off, but some servers might have this not grayed out. This means that if you're offline, it will still force load the chunks. Now, these are preset things in the config file, which we will look into when we are looking at the administrative perspective. For instance, the barrier ones are meaning that nothing can get in. For instance, for ender pearls, if I turn this on, ender pearls cannot be shot into my claim. And for the rest, interact just means right-click interaction for whatever is in between the parentheses. If you hover over this, you can also see what is actually inside of this. For instance, here you can see a Minecraft lever and Minecraft buttons, but that's a tag. The hashtag means it's a tag. The same is for doors, meaning doors, fence gates, forge fence gates, and Minecraft trapdoors. And it does it for all of these, so you might want to look into that. As you can see, break is the same as interact, but it's left click interaction, meaning you will break things. Hand interact means you will specifically do it with your hand, so with an empty hand. Kill is obviously killing, and using is using it within your claim, so just right click interaction without actually pointing at something. Now we're going to look into subclaims. As you can see, over on the left area on the first space, this is all related to your subclaims and subconfigs. If I were to make a new claim, new subconfig, sorry, my bad, you can do so by just giving it a name. For instance, let's say farms. Over here, you can switch between them. So for instance, I can go to my main one or I can go to my farms one. Now, right off the bat, this won't work as you probably want it to. For instance, if I am now claiming with my main one, which means that if I were to claim the selected chunks, as you can see, they will be claimed. Now, if I were to switch over to farms, I can set all the permissions that I just named. You can set them separately for this claim. Now, by default, they will be this minus sign, meaning they will take on whatever is your main one. So if I were to have this minus, it will revert back to the main one and see Oh, it says it's off here, so we're gonna turn that off as well. Now, if I do want to change to using farms, I can click this claim with farms button, meaning that if I now were to claim something, it will now claim it using the farms one. As you can see, it will make it, it will separate the borders instead of making it one flush, whatever shape you have. Now, for every subconfig, subclaim is what this is also called, you can do the following things. You can name the area. For instance, I can name this one main, and click this one, and I can also set another color, which is supposed to be a hex code. Please do note that this is not RGB or anything. You can look up some hex code translator online or something. But for now, if you use 0, it will default to the base color that you have, which is this color. Now, let's say I want to go to farms. Now, I don't want my farms one to be called nothing or something, so I call this one farms, but I also want to emphasize that it's something different by using a hex code. Now, I prepared this hex code for a second here, which will be a bluish cyan tint. And when I do that, as you can see, if I close out of this, you can see that this piece of land that I named farms, as you can see underneath it's named farms, and here this is named main. It also has a different color, and this is basically how you can do it. Now, let's also say that for this piece of farms, I actually also want to protect it from my party, instead of where if it's the main one, it's not protected from my party. This will all work, meaning that party members can indeed work within your main claim, but not inside of the farms claim. A lot of people have asked me if you can blacklist certain blocks or even certain block positions, or claim them and have separate values for them. Sadly, this is not a feature. Everything is based on the entire chunk, meaning if you want to, for instance, build some kind of shop, you will have to make sure that the shop is within the entire chunk and that everything you want to allow within that chunk is inside that entire chunk. And subclaim, only administrators can add or remove exceptions in the config, which we will also look at in a moment. For now, I want to show off a few extra miscellaneous features, such as the open parties claims about command. This will show everything your claims have. Then you can also go to the open parties about command, which I already showed off, but if you run it without a target, it will just display everything about your party. Then that is it for the user guide. If this is all the information you wanted, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It's Tiaz Does Things. If you are more or so interested in my development projects, feel free to check out the Tyrip Studios channel. I will leave a link in the description, as well as a link to my Discord server and the CordCraft server, so you can ask me all sorts of questions about the claims system for your player use. Also, in the CordCraft server, I have a Discord bot named CordCrafter, which has the /claims command group. You could run that, and there will be a few mini explanations of a few things, which will never be as big of an explanation as what I just explained. But I do hope that it'll be at least a little bit of help if you need a small refresher. So again, if this is where you're going to stop watching, thank you very much, and we will now continue on with the administrative point of view. See ya! Hello my dear administrators. In this part of the video, I will show you everything that you need to know for the administrative side of open parties and claims. I do hope that you have at least a little bit of basic knowledge about the mod, whereas it goes for claiming and unclaiming things, force loading and whatever. If you don't, again, you could just watch the first part of this video. But for now, let's get right into it. First of all, there are a few commands at your that you have that the normal players don't have. The first one is the open back command, which opens several things that are config related. Now, I prefer editing configs in the JSON files that are on the server side, but if you're just an operator and you do not have access to the JSONs, you can simply set, get, help, and do all of this stuff. Again, I will not really go over this because I prefer to show you the basic JSON, but everything you can see inside of the JSONs can be set, gotten, and done over here. The player config command is for your base player config. This is something I didn't show the users, but again, it's very useful. Hello, Tia's in editing here real quick. I mentioned that it was JSON files in the video. It's not JSON files, it's TOML files. So if you're trying to search for JSON files or whatever and you can find them, they're TOML files. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry for that. In the open parties and claims, in the claims command, there are a few commands that are exclusive to you. Admin mode, non-ally mode, server claim mode, and that's it. Now, admin mode, what this does is it gives you a full override for everything that has been set. If I were to be at someone else's place, but they have some kind of farm setup or something that I don't really want them to be setting up, for instance, a string duper farm, but they have it inside of their claim, meaning I cannot mess with it, you can turn on the admin mode and thus be able to break everything that the farm has. You can interact with everything. Again, as I said, it's a full override, so do use this with precaution, because it's a full override, meaning that you can do everything you want. It's like the claims want was never there. The same way for turning it on, you can turn it off. It will even display in the chat if you turn it on or off. The next command we're going to look at is the non-ally mode. Now, as far as I understood, this means that if you're in any allies, if you're an ally with a party, but you want to test things as if you're not the ally anymore, it will basically act as if you're not an ally. Now, I don't know. I believe this might work for your own claims. No, yes. This works for your own claims too. Meaning if you're... theoretically, I am in my own party right now. But because I have non-ally mode on, this means I cannot even interact with my own claims anymore. Unless I turn on certain things. This can be very nice if you want to test out certain things, such as if your claims are working correctly, or if your friend's claims are working correctly, or if someone is complaining about, hey, this part of my claim is behaving weirdly. Is this just me? Is it something with how I'm allied to people? You can turn on non-ally mode and check all this out for them. Again, similar to the admin mode, you can run the command again to disable it. Then we have the server, which will be server command, which will basically allow you to run claim commands as the server. If I want to claim, for instance, this piece of land for the server, which is something we have set up over here, for instance, this is all railway. You can see this is a server claim. If I want to, for instance, claim this as the server, you can do open part claim server, and then for instance hit claim. As you can see, it will claim it as the server, and similarly you can do unclaim. You can even do force loads because the server has unlimited force loads. Again, use this with precaution, especially on our server. If you're an admin for our server, please do not force load chunks, please do not force load other people's chunks, because it can give major lag issues. Then the last thing that is here that is exclusive to you is the server claim mode. This will basically just mean that whenever you claim something as yourself, you are now somewhat claiming as if you're using a subclaim of the server, meaning that, for instance, in the map you could do this and click claim selected, and as you can see, it will claim it as the server. Similarly, you can do unclaim, you can even you can claim selected, and you can even click force load selected. Um, but again, that is just an easier way of doing it if you don't want to use the commands. Now we will go look over what you can do in here for a second as well. And when you go to the player config menu, you have all of these not grayed out. Now again, as I said, this is just everything that you were able to do with the command as well. And it will change the it will change the bear. It will change the bear. It will change the bear JSONs, and again, I will not go into this as much because I again prefer to show you the bare JSONs and how to work with the JSONs instead of having it go through here. And again, everything in here is pretty self-explanatory, and you can just look at it yourself if you want to, and if you don't want to mess with the JSONs. This is the another player tab. If I, for instance, want to change something about lazy space, I can put in their username and click editing. Now, I can see everything that they have turned on, even if they are currently claiming something. Here's all their subclaims. For instance, Sweden is one of their subclaims, and I can set all sorts of overrides for them as if I am changing it as them. Again, use this with precaution. It's mostly just used to help people set up their configs if they don't know how to. And that is basically it. Now, that is actually all for the server side of this mod, for the administrative. If you follow me along real quick, we can also look at the JSONs. As I said, I would look into the JSONs as well. As you can see, I am now currently on the server side panel. This should be available to you if you have that permission. Now the first you want to go in will be config, and then somewhere down here will be have to scroll all the way down to the open parties and claims server.toml. .toml, as I often call it, and as you can see, this is everything that I showed you as well. This is just for the server config, meaning everything in here is set for the server. Now, this is a lot of stuff to go over, and I will right now. So, the parties, now luckily everything is labeled accordingly and is very self-explanatory. There's even a default thing and a range thing. And most of these are what you may have already seen. For instance, you can only have 64 members, only have 64 allies, you can only have 16 invites. The party expiration date is how long you can stay inactive. Now, I will not go over all of these because they are, again, pretty self-explanatory. The thing I do want to go and get into a little bit better is the exception groups. Anything that you put in here is basically all the things that you saw. Now, up here, you can see kind of a better explanation of it. Now, these are basically custom groups of blocks that a config can work with to make exceptions for. The syntax is as follows: you make a double quote, and then you give it a name. For instance, I name this one coins. Now, let's say I only want them to be able to interact, for instance. So you can then prefix it with something like use. I don't know if this is actually valid, but and then you do a $, and then you get the name. A good example of this is the break one for crops. It's the break one for crops. I actually kind of messed up by saying coins, but let's say shop blocks. You probably once, this is probably called interact. You can also do the anything, meaning you can do right click interaction, breaking it, or any held item, whatever. Then what you could do is you add these, which are the accolades. And then what you can do is you can add whatever you want to do in there. You can even use rejects, or well, you can even use the base regular expression thing with the asterisk. So for instance, if I want to allow anything that has the word coin in it, for instance, like a coin machine or something, I can just do coin. I can just do something like coin, and that'll probably work. Now, what most of this will be used for is things like what's already in here, shulker boxes. You can even use tags. You can do multiples by just separating them with commas, and so on and so forth. The thing that we often use this for is shop blocks, but we didn't set it up for this season. That's about it. The same goes for these, but they're a little bit easier to understand. And then there's, for instance, the hand item frames thing. Again, the exception groups are pretty powerful. In my opinion, it's actually the most powerful part of this mod because it's so configurable. You can set anything in here if you want to. You can even completely disable item interactions if you want to. You can even completely disable block interactions. Although we do prefer to use a different mod for this because we prefer to also completely get rid of them in general. This, for instance, is to always protect blocks from enchantments like Frostwalker. And that is basically it. Now, I believe that in the container, there is, in the world, you also, in the server config, you can see the configs that you can also change in game. That being the default player, expired claim, server claim, wilderness, and whatever. If I, for instance, go to the server claim, you can see that this is basically the same as player claims, how they work, for instance, with the color, projected claim chunks. It has all the different things, but you can change it in JSON here. As far as I know, you don't need to reload the server or even restart the server to apply these changes. Although I do suggest doing a reload anyway for a few reasons. As you can see, some of these have been edited not even an hour ago from in-game, so you can see that the game does have a direct kind of connection with these files. Now, every single one of them has things. Now, the expired claim, I will look into this as well. You can see here expired claims. I'm going to explain what expired claims are real quick, not really show anything, but basically you can set a time frame in which claims, when they are inactive or not used, they will become expired, and then you can set in here what those expired claims will do. For instance, we had a season where we just made them public so everybody can interact with them. Sadly, it's not really as useful as we wanted to, because when the players come back, they cannot reclaim their expired claims, so we opted to not use them anymore. Well, that should be it. Thank you for watching if you were an administrator, and you can, again, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these types of videos. Oh, I caught it. Niruna thing there. I actually also plan on making a video about Niruna, so that's actually pretty darn well timing there. But again, have a very nice day. Good luck with administrating the server, and with that, I'm going to go out because I have to eat dinner. Have a nice day, and feel free to ask questions in my server or the CordCraft server. See ya!